All right, everyone. This is a special podcast that we're doing here. We haven't actually done this before, so this is exciting. We decided that it would be really cool to have somebody that actually came and for 3 weeks to the Healing Oasis this last summer, Derek. And we have him here. Derek, if you want to say hi to everyone.
Hi, everybody.
So, and then we have Dr. Caesar as well on this podcast. So, Dr. Caesar, if you want to say hi.
Hi, everybody. Nice to be here.
And the reason this is sort of a special podcast is because I don't know how many people have ever done this. And I think a lot of you out there, this will mean a lot to you because we thought, hey, why not actually talk to a real guest that's come here? Dr. Caesar gave them a protocol. They stayed here, ate from a private chef, stayed in the cabins. We're going to talk to Derek about that experience today. And then we're going to talk about the results. And we're not just going to talk about the results like, a lot of people, they say, well, how do I know? How can I verify? We're actually Derek gave us permission, and we're going to actually pull up the doctor, like I think it's called the pathology report or the CT scan, the most recent one that he just got from the hospital. We're going to pull that up. So we're going to do that. Yeah, we're going to do that later on. So this is really exciting for those that really want to dig into it, really get the meat and potatoes, understand sort of why the protocols can help. And I think this is a cool story, Derek, because a lot of people are getting colorectal cancer. And we're going to get into that. I'm going to get you to share your story, but a lot of people are getting colorectal cancer. So this is going to speak to a lot of people. And you use the best of both conventional, which you're going to share your story, and you did natural. You came to the Healing Oasis. So I love this because I think this is going to speak to a lot of people, since a lot of people are using the best of both worlds these days. And so having said that, Derek, why don't you just start off with your story, sort of give us an idea of what was going on in your life and when you were first diagnosed, what happened. So if you don't mind, we'll get you to start there.
Sure. Yeah. No, thank you for having me. I really appreciate Dave and Dr. Caesar, everything that you guys do, right? I thank you so much for this. I feel very honored, and it was wonderful staying there at the Healing Oasis this June. And I was there for 3 weeks and down by the lake in the cabin. So it was quite wonderful. But so my cancer journey started, I'm 54, and started on my 50th birthday. So basically pretty much 4 years ago, right? I decided to go in for a typical a checkup, a physical, pretty much right when I turned 50. And in that checkup, basically the doctor, I had to do a fit test, and then with that fit test, they asked me to come in to do a colonoscopy. They found some readings they didn't like, so they called me up, wanted to do a colonoscopy, and that was in December of, I guess that'd be 2020 now. And I've never had anything wrong. I've never had a disease. I've never broken a leg, nothing, not even a broken bone.
And were you feeling odd, or this was just a standard test? Just you were doing
standard test. I haven't had a physical ever, nothing. Right. And I just turned 50 and I thought, you know what? I'm going to go get checked. It was just a random thing. Right. And then, the doctor had me do a fit test, and my doctor did. And then I went in for a colonoscopy, and I woke up from the colonoscopy, and that's when the doctor who did the colonoscopy said, "You have a tumor.
Wow,
it is cancerous." He had no factual thing, but he had done a million of them, so he automatically just knew that's cancer, right? He saw the tumor; it was in my colon. And basically, he said, "You have a cancerous tumor." He made the call right then and there. And that pretty much sent me on a whole whirlwind of, I've had three cancers now in 4 years.
Holy smokes.
3. And they're two of them were colorectal cancers, and then this last one was colorectal that had gone into my liver, which Dr. Caesar knows at stage 4 because it grew.
Right.
And then, so I've had in that time frame of the 3 cancers, I've had 5 colorectal resection surgeries
Wow.
in St. Paul's Hospital, Vancouver. They've hooked me up. They've disconnected me. They've reconnected me and disconnected me and reconnected me. And every time it's been a bit of a journey.
Right.
Been a bit of a journey with the colorectal resection surgeries. That's for sure. I guess I've never had anything wrong with me until I turned 50.
So, can I ask, did they do surgery? So they found the first, like the original tumor, they did surgery. Did you do chemo or radiation after that?
Oh, geez. Trying to remember, it gets to be a blur. But yes, so they did. Hard to remember what they did for the first one. No, they just went in and operated.
Okay.
For the first one, they just went in and operated. It was the size of an ugly golf ball, supposedly the tumor, when they first discovered it. And that was that was beginning of December 2020, right in the heart of COVID. So it was about as worse as it can be, the timing. And then late January was the surgery.
Okay.
And he went right in and he removed about a foot of my colon and then pieced me back together. So that was automatic. They just pieced me together. I didn't have a colonoscopy bag. I didn't have a stoma at the time. And then within 5 days, I went home.
Okay.
Like I was there not even 5 days, 4 days maybe, and then I went home, and then that was the first one.
And so did you think you were clear of cancer at the time when you went home then?
In my mind, yeah, I was kind of like, oh, this is a blip. You know,
Right.
I honestly, yeah, I don't think I took it very seriously the first time.
Okay.
You know, I just know myself well enough, right? And honestly, yeah, I don't think I did. You know, and then a few months went by, and then I had another follow up, and that's I forget the timing there, but the readings were not going well. You know, this was months later after that first surgery, the resection surgery. The readings didn't go well, and then the following January, then I had to do chemo, or no, sorry, then I had to do radiation,
Okay.
and then just to shrink it. And then in January the following year, I had another resection surgery. This time it ended up with a bag, with a colonoscopy, you know, stoma bag, right?
Okay.
And that surgery was a little bit more, into it, right? Especially because I had a bag, and she removed some spots, very small because it was so fast, the turnaround time from surgery to surgery. And that was and then afterwards I had chemo.
Okay.
I had chemo after that second surgery.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then what happened? Because it ended up metastasizing to your liver, right?
Yeah. Um, yeah. And then, yeah. Yeah. So they ended up reconnecting me before all that. They ended up reconnecting me, right? Got rid of the stoma bag and they reconnected me. And then, that didn't go too well. My intestines grew together at a very bad angle, from what I understand, and I was getting some stoppages.
Okay.
And then just a year ago, September, I'm fast forwarding now, but anyways, a year ago, September, I spent 35 days in the Vancouver hospital, in and out, because I was having really bad stoppages. Right? They reconnected me and it was not good. Couldn't eat. lost a lot of weight because I just couldn't eat, right? And then I spent 35 days in the hospital, and that's when they disconnected me again because it was not good, right? Being reconnected.
Right.
And then that was October of last year. And then from that, that's when pretty much the time when I found out that I had cancer again. And I think that was the shock value from so many surgeries, right? I think it was, in my opinion, anyways, it was just like a shock value. My body was not having a good time,
Right.
And then they disconnected me again at a colorectal surgery last October. And then that surgery did not go well. That was actually a herniated, like, is that what you say, Dr. Caesar? A herniated bag, a stoma?
Yep.
It was huge. It was that my colon would, yeah, it got massive. It was like half the size of a football. And the gravity just, yeah, it kind of made it just fall out of my skin, right? And then I had major, fast forward now to this April, they redid it all again. They moved my stoma over to the left side of my belly button, and they accessed my liver because that's where the cancer had spread to. And they removed like 14, 16 nodules of cancer on my liver.
Wow.
Just this past April before I met you, Dave.
So during this time, Derek, you did all the conventional. Did you do any natural treatments during that time?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
I went to a place here in the Vancouver suburbs, and I did do hypertherapy treatment there. Uh, but I just think that I'd had way too much trauma. In my own view, I had way too much trauma to my body because I it didn't work.
Right.
Right, that time it didn't work, and I was still hadn't quite changed a lot of my habits, my eating, sleeping, stress, prayer, all that sort of stuff. I hadn't quite changed a lot of that, and I just it ended up coming back,
Yeah.
right, and that's when that I was in a couple months later after that I was in the hospital for that 35 days or whatever.
Right.
But I did do that. I did do the naturopath. That's when I first got on it. My wife got me on that place in the Vancouver suburbs here, and I did that.
Right.
Yeah.
And then what made you guys at that stage, you've been through all this. What made you think, hey, we should go to the Healing Oasis for 3 weeks? What happened there?
Well, so I had my surgery this past April, and that's where Dave knows this. But my wife I was in the hospital, and I was very much on hydromorphone.
Yeah, this is actually,
And
can you share that story? Because we got to add a little humor to this
yeah,
podcast. So it's actually pretty
so
funny.
so we were in the hospital, and I don't necessarily I was still under the influence, right? Under heavy narcotics, and my wife just happened to be scrolling through Facebook, and then she was thinking about me, and she saw this little Facebook page. It was called the Healing Oasis, right? And it was basically, yeah, it was brand new.
Right.
It was brand new, and she was thinking about it. And she's like, "Oh wow, what is this place? It's in British Columbia. Is this real? Is this a scam? Is it for sure? What's going on here?" So then I guess that's where she ended up contacting you, and you had actually talked to Sean Wark. Right, you had an interview that keyed on to her that this was for sure. You had an interview with Sean Wark this past spring.
Chris Wark. Yeah.
Chris Wark. Sorry,
Yep.
Chris Wark. Yes. You had interviews with him, and she was all excited because this is legit. It's legit. It's not a scam.
That's funny.
Right. So, and we listened to that ourselves with between you and Chris. And then that kind of got us onto this. And you know what? We made the leap.
And I hear, if I remember correctly, it was either you buy a new Toyota Tacoma or you come to the Healing Oasis, right?
Yeah, I Yeah, I was like, I really want a pickup truck. You know, I haven't been working, but yet nevertheless, I want a pickup truck.
Yeah. And
You know,
was
I
it
was sick.
worth it?
Yes,
That's good.
it was very much worth it. Yes,
Yeah.
because now, okay, far as I know, I don't have cancer, so I think I'll take that
Yeah. So
over the
let's
pickup truck.
we're going to dive into your results, and I think a lot of people are going to appreciate that, and Dr. Caesar is going to speak to that. Before we get into that, just tell us a little bit about, people can read up on what the Healing Oasis is and all that, and what we do. But in your words, maybe just share, now that you've been away for a few months and you look back on it, what do you feel was the biggest impact of those 3 weeks?
You know what? It was stopping stopping the panic of the drive of just of work, life, the everyday panic that I have to, provide for my family, that I gotta, I have to work. And just basically taking a break from the normal day-to-day grind, right?
Right.
And just focusing on healing, going there to the healing oasis for those 3 weeks. In the cabin there's no Wi-Fi, there is no cellular service, there's no phone, right? There's no nothing. There's like three plugs in the cabin that I was in, and there was like enough for a coffee in the fridge, and and that's about it, really. And you know what? Having that disconnect from the daily grind of life, that was huge,
Yeah.
right? I didn't have to worry about where everything's going to come from, and I just took a break. I stopped,
Yeah.
and took that time for myself. And as my wife and my two daughters came up, and they absolutely loved it themselves, disconnecting from the daily grind of the world, right?
Yeah.
The, the whole thing that we have to do this and we have to do that. No, just stop.
Right.
Take care of yourself. Pray, enjoy the nature, because that was a huge thing for me, was the nature, right? Going out to the other lake. What's the other lake down there that you
Echo
can
Lake.
walk to? Echo Lake. Walking to that, and walking up the hill.
Yeah. Well, when you
For
first got there, you couldn't make it up the hill.
no, when I first got there, like from my liver surgery in April, I couldn't walk for basically a month and a half, 2 months, right after the surgery. And then I kept on calling up to you, or to somebody, or Shane or whatever on the radio. Can somebody come pick me up?
Yeah.
Can somebody come pick me up? Because I couldn't it's a bit of a grind, going up
Yeah.
that hill.
Yeah, we
But
call it the healing hill, but
the healing hill.
some people call it the hill from hell or something, but it's the healing hill. Yeah.
It's the healing hill, because there was that one day where I just like, nope, mm, I'm gonna I'm going to hill. I'm walking this thing. And it might have, to go the 200 yards that it is, it might have taken me 20 minutes, 25 minutes to hike that little tiny bit, but I did it. And then from then on, it was go.
Yeah, and
Right.
when your wife came back, she left for a week, and I think she came back and she saw you walking up that hill. I think you were doing it multiple times a day, and
Yep.
she just started crying. She was
Yeah.
like, she couldn't believe the difference that just that week she was gone, how much of a difference she saw in you, just the healing that was taking place. So
Well, yeah,
it's pretty cool.
she left, to come back here to take care of, the house and stuff like that. And then, well, back up a little bit. I was basically bedridden and in the hospital from September to basically June. I was on either in the hospital or on my couch. I got really good at playing the PlayStation, and I got very caught up on my shows on Netflix and whatnot, because I couldn't do anything, right? I was on the couch for whatever that is, 8 or 9 months.
Right.
So then by the time I got there, right, that's to see me climb the hill. And it's just fantastic. It's amazing. It's a miracle. It's
Mhm.
right. And you know what? That honestly, Dave, coming to the healing oasis, getting myself to stop, and to not worry about all that, the other daily grind of life was so healing. It's just, wow, I just can't describe it, in
Well,
words.
well, that's awesome. And I know, Dr. Caesar, we're going to jump over to you to get your perspective now, but I know that's why Dr. Caesar partnered. He has his own clinic in Winnipeg, and he's been doing this for 20 years. People come from all over, they fly in. It's an amazing place in Winnipeg, his clinic. And then people say, well, why would he partner with us? Well, it's the fact that he believes in the nature and calming down, removing yourself from all of the EMF pollution, just eating good food. So it's cool that we partnered with Dr. Caesar because he's a big believer in that. And he loves coming out here. He just came out here just a couple weekends ago, and he stays with us, and we cook food and we have a great time. So Dr. Caesar, I'm gonna move over. Thank you, Derek, for sharing your story, because I think a lot of people need to hear. I mean, they look at you, Derek, and you're back at work, you're positive, you're loving life. And excuse the language, but it's like you went through hell for a few years there. But just to see how well you're doing, and it just gives people hope, like, okay, even if they have to go through some suffering, and there's some surgeries and some chemo and all of that stuff that they're going to go through, that there is hope, and
Yeah.
they can heal. So thank you for sharing your story, because I think it will inspire a lot of people that are going through the same journey as you. And it's a long road, but there is hope. There's light at the end of the tunnel. So Dr.
Yes.
Caesar, from your perspective, when you first saw Derek's, you do an intake call. So everybody that comes to either your clinic in Winnipeg or they come to the Healing Oasis, they do an intake call with Dr. Caesar, and during that intake call, you review their medical records, their pathology report, their CT scan. So I'm going to let you now share from your perspective what you saw, what you prescribed for Derek while he was at the Healing Oasis. So we have a registered nurse here that follows the orders of Dr. Caesar and what he prescribes for your protocol. And then we're going to look at the results a couple months later, what's happened. So Dr. Caesar, I'm going to turn it over to you and sort of hear from your perspective.
Yeah, thanks, Dave. And Derek, thank you so much for sharing your story. It's so important for people to know the real life stories of patients and how they do. And with Derek's case, it was a stage 4 cancer. Stage 4 cancers tend to progress. That's just kind of their nature. Stage 4 means it's just moved distant. And for Derek, the biggest thing was the focus on the liver and also the focus on the whole person. So the medical side, the oncology side gets really focused on hammering the tumors as much as possible, shrinking them down. Full Fury, Full Fox are the two chemo combinations that are used very often. Surgery over and over again. But with the naturopathic approach, it's important to embrace the whole person. And what Derek said was exactly, was, you know what, I got to come and just disconnect. And Derek, if I'm right, you went off of a couple of your meds that way, right? Was there not some anxiety meds and antidepressants that you actually just
I went cold turkey.
Yeah,
off the anti-anxiety meds there, and I remember I had a crash because I went cold turkey. I shouldn't have, but I did.
Yeah, we should have worked on that together, but
yeah. I don't suggest that.
but now I think now you're off. So this is part of the huge healing journey naturopathically is to handle the whole person top to bottom, and that's a profound change.
Yeah.
That Derek experienced. It went from here as far as I got to push, I got to work, I got to, and anxiety is up here. And this was what you mentioned in some of your first conversations that we had. And then now it's down. And that is profoundly healing. In the oncologist side of it, not so much a big deal, but we know that this profound change of anxiety, depression, all these things, all these emotions come through and elevate the cancer. And so bringing them down just so wonderfully through a place like the Healing Oasis connecting, Wi-Fi, everything like that is a part of the whole picture to getting you better, Derek. That's
Yes.
it's layers and layers. It's the advanced therapies, it's the IV therapies, it's the hyperthermia, it's
Shane.
yeah, it's the food, it's everything all together, that brings you on the healing journey, which is very, very, very important. Not to miss any of those pieces. Each of those pieces is so, so, so very important.
And
And
Dr. C, can I just say I'm so glad you're touching on this because you're absolutely right. I think a lot of people get focused on the tumor. It's so fun. I'm just listening to you nodding. You can't see me, but I'm nodding my head going, I mean, everybody's the oncologists, the medical system, they're focused on the tumor, on shrinking it. And the fact that you just talked about that we're human beings, the whole person, reducing the
Yeah.
stress, the emotional aspect. Derek's nodding his head right now. The emotional aspect to cancer. You talk to anybody that has helped heal cancer like you have, Dr. Caesar, and that's a major part of the healing journey. So I'm just so glad we're talking about that because people that are listening, it's really important.
Well,
yeah,
if I could say with that, Dave, is that, with the first two times I had colon cancer, it hadn't spread to my liver yet. The first two times, I didn't change anything. I just did what they said. Let's do radiation. Let's have a surgery. Let's do chemo. Let's do this, right? And I did what, the mainstream medical said to do, and it always came back, right? So
right.
now, fast forward to this time in June when I went to the Healing Oasis and Dr. Caesar and everything he's prescribed. This is the freest time I've had because of the whole body, right? Everything, the whole body, treating like the food, the stress, the nature, the prayer, you know, and it's just so important
Yeah,
versus just going to the doctor.
right, right, right. And that's absolutely right, Dirk. To tackle things from all different layers. For instance, in the medical side, with the chemotherapy, the radiation, and the surgeries, that as we know, it's always to get rid of the tumors. However, underneath the tumors is something that they never talk about, is what we call cancer stem cells. They're not seen, and they actually get more aggressive when you give it full fury or when you give it full fox. So, or after a surgery. So those little stem cells that can cause cancer to come back are the hit best by natural medicines. So the IV medicines that we do, the hyperthermia, etc., those are all geared to take care of the baseline of where the cancer can get worse or the cancer can grow from. So that's a very important part. Like I said before, it's multi-layered, not only multi-layered to also hit the tumor, but also to hit what's underneath the tumor and some
Yeah.
toxicity too. So toxicity, like if you look at the colorectal cancer statistics, it's unbelievable how much it is going up for younger patients. So you are, if you're born after 1980, you're 2 to 2.5 times more likely to get colorectal cancer before 50 than the generations previous. So the younger and younger, you were 50 when you were diagnosed, the younger and younger patients are getting diagnosed more and more. And they say that's due to obesity, they say it's due to this and that, but environmental is a really big deal. And a big part of environmental is your mental emotional state, is what you're eating, what you're doing. And so with the chemotherapy and the focus and also the radiation and these kinds of things, you need it goes much more than that to address what's important is to get the whole person back on track. You want your days as good as possible. It's not that you just want to get hit, feel lousy, and live longer. You want every single minute to be so important. And every single minute without anxiety, without depression, is a way better way to go
Yeah.
than hitting a tumor, shrinking it down, and kind of moving on. So that whole picture is just so, so, so important.
The whole person, the whole
Mhm.
person. It took
Absolutely.
me
So
took me three cancers to figure that out.
So Derek and Dr. Caesar, this is interesting, and I just want to focus on this real quick before we jump into what Dr. Caesar saw with your report and what he prescribed. But why do you guys think, and Derek, you can talk to this because you experienced it, why do you think that the medical industry is so focused on the tumor and the surgery, the chemo, and they're not as focused on seeing that you're a human being and obviously your emotional state, your anxiety, your stress levels, your sleep, your food, all of those things are impacting your health and it probably impacts the growth of the cancer. In fact, there's lots of studies that show this. So why do you think the medical industry is not focused on that?
Yeah, there's the multi-billion, trillion, gazillion, jillion dollar industry.
Right.
I mean, that's my 2 cents.
So,
You know,
in other words, you're thinking just because the money's in the chemo, the radiation, I mean, there's not a lot of money in the. I just heard Dr. Caesar. Maybe you can speak to this, but I just heard a stat, and it was from a very credible source. I'm just thinking where it was. It was a very credible source. Sorry, guys, I can't remember what it was, but it wasn't just some stat on the internet, and they said that doctors, including oncologists, they don't even get a day of nutrition in schooling. So for them to even talk to it, they have no education about nutrition. And personally, Dr. Caesar, I'd like to hear your thoughts on this, but I think that my belief and my vision of the future of medicine is combining conventional with natural, which I think is the future because I think there is a lot of good things that can come out of conventional, but I also think that we're missing out big time if we're not approaching the natural side of things, which is the whole body and the human being, like you're saying, Dr. Caesar. But maybe I'll get your input on that and what you think about that.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen thousands and thousands of cancer patients, and I can't tell you how many sit in the chair and as we're talking, and they can't believe that there's no dialogue about food. You know, and then they serve them candies when they're at cancer care, or these kinds of things. And I can't. If I had a nickel for all the eyes that were rolled as I'm dialoguing about this, and they're telling me about this, and then they get referred to a dietitian sometimes, and there's no concept. Patients have an idea that there's foods that can help my cancer. I'm pretty sure, and that's what we flesh out completely. And it's well studied, and I just don't understand why in the oncology side it is not addressed. It's just not taught in the colleges. In Germany, these advanced natural therapies are taught, but they're just not addressed here, and it's frustrating for the patient. It's so much relief. I'd say there's lots of relief when we have a conversation because they're talking to a naturopathic doctor with years of experience with cancer. But to have someone acknowledge the fact that yes, food is very important, and it's one of the foundations for doing well. And so that's what we go over with every patient.
I just,
especially for colorectal, where does everything go? It goes through your guts, right?
Absolutely. And I think that's one of the reasons why, the younger and younger are getting it more and more is because of the number of poor foods that are out there more and more.
Well,
I
that's
was just,
like,
oh, go ahead, Derek.
that's why, you guys there, Dave, you have the whole thing with Shane and having the whole foods, no processed foods. There's absolutely no processed foods at the Healing Oasis, right? None. So Shane does he buys all the vegetables down in Lumbee there, and all the foods are whole foods, grain foods, and it's just so much there at the Healing Oasis to eat healthy and get away from processed foods.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, and
right?
Shane is our private chef. That's who Derek's referencing.
Right.
He's one of the favorite parts of most guests is Shane's just an awesome guy. But I always laugh, Dr. Caesar, because they're talking about most of the guests. I do ask them when they're here. I say, "Hey, what does your oncologist say about food?" And of course, the majority of them say the oncologist says food doesn't matter. And I say, next time you should ask your oncologist if food doesn't matter, what do they feed their dog? You know, an oncologist probably has a super expensive dog that's like $5,000. And I bet you $100 that that oncologist is like, I feed my dog the best food. Like I go get, and it's like, it doesn't matter what we eat as humans, but it matters what you feed your dog. And everybody,
Yeah.
I mean, I know this because, I know some pretty wealthy people that have some, nice dogs. And of course, they buy the best possible food you can get for their dogs. I just think it's ridiculous that we say food doesn't matter. And I think most people out there, they know that that's ridiculous. So the medical system needs to start changing because everybody knows that that just isn't true. Food does matter.
Yeah.
Mhm.
When I was in the hospital there for the 35 days, I was actually getting misinformation from dietitians, right? I was getting misinformation from them. Well, I forget what it was. Can I have this or can I have that? And they were telling me and my wife, and it was like, well, that doesn't sound right. I was getting misinformation from dietitians even.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
But
Dr. Caesar, what let's because we don't have a ton of time left. So what did you saw Derek had stage 4 Mets to his liver. He had multiple surgeries, chemo. You saw that, you talked to him. So what was your protocol? And then we're going to jump into sort of what happened afterwards and the results that we've seen. So maybe I'll let you take over again.
Yeah, so we use an IV protocol along with the hyperthermia and the PEMF devices in order to treat. These are high-powered, strong naturopathic medicines that go beyond supplementation, these kinds of things that people think of. So, and you can also see the nice thing about this is that we've got a lot of stats on hand as well. The science behind how do we tackle the liver mets? So in the eyes of us as a naturopathic oncologist, and the eyes of the medical oncologist, the liver is important. That's where as far as tumor reduction goes, yeah, we can't ignore that as a naturopathic doctor. We take care of everything, but tumor reduction in the liver is a big deal. So what we do is we use the hyperthermia right over the area. Now, the hyperthermia is a fantastic tool because it's used in Germany very commonly. It's used in about 200 different hospitals where they will do surgery, they'll do radiation, they'll do chemotherapy, and then they'll say, okay, let's go right next door to the hospital and let's have our hyperthermia treatment. As hyperthermia heats up tumors, brings medicine to the tumor itself to help to shrink it down. So what the hyperthermia is, it's a pad that's put over, generated as radio frequencies, and those radio frequencies hit the tumor, and then they start to heat it up and start to break it down and degrade it along with the medicines that are given IV, whether that's artesunate or IV vitamin C, DCA, ALA, whatever those medicines may be. And it's a protocol that's specific for Derek. It's specific for not only colorectal cancer, it's specific for Derek and his state and who he is, and we tailor it that way and customize each of the treatments. This is very unique in anything. I mean, even some other centers will have just a general treatment for cancer. Everybody gets the same thing, but it's not. It needs to be very, very, very focused. So those advanced therapies are delivered, daily or every other day, and for a total of 3 weeks. 3 weeks is the time that patients tend to respond, and the cancer tends to respond to these treatments over that course of time.
And so, okay, so this is good. Now, what happens if somebody out there is listening to this? They have colorectal cancer, stage 4, Mets to the liver, but the liver has too many tumors to do surgery. So they're going to do chemo, let's say. That's what the doctors are recommending. What would you say with a case like that? Can you still help people, Dr. Caesar? Is there a way to help those people even if they can't do surgery and get rid of it?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And so we always make sure that the combination is enhancing the action of whether it's chemotherapy or whatever it might be, and also preventing side effects at the same time. So, nice thing about the statistics, we look at the statistics of how the hyperthermia works. Liver cancer or the metastasis to the liver is one of the best treated of all of the cancers. And the statistics are over 200% improvement. That means living longer, living better, and that kind of thing with using the hyperthermia over the liver. So that's why it's such a fantastic tool. And that's
So sorry, I didn't know that. So I just want to repeat this because it's pretty significant. You're saying that the hyperthermia treatment that uses radio frequency to heat up the tumor, and you're saying that there's statistically the studies show that liver specifically that it responds best or some of the best like it responds best to the liver with the chemo. Is that what you're saying? 200%.
Well, yeah. So the brain cancers tend to do really well as liver metastasis are a couple of the real strong ones. All the cancers do respond to hyperthermia to some degree. So when I've got a case like Derek's, who has the nice thing about it is that if there's multiple Mets, you don't have to hit each one. The plate is about this big that goes over the area, and it can hit each one of those tumors because everywhere from top to bottom, the radio frequency comes down and it heats the tumor deeply. It's not like a sauna or something like that where you can heat up to it. It actually produces the heat in the tumors itself. And if you have 5 tumors there, it hits 5 of them. If you have 10, if you have 12, it hits each one individually. And that's the nature of how that hyperthermia device works.
So what happens, Dr. Caesar, and this is common and it happens all the time, where people like Derek, they go to their oncologist, recommends chemo, which they're going to do, but then they start saying to their oncologist, well, hey, I believe it a little bit in natural. I want to do some IVs, high dose vitamin C, food. And the oncologist immediately says, nope, you cannot do anything. You cannot do high dose vitamin C IV. That's going to interfere and the chemo will be useless and you're going to end up dying. I mean, I'm not making this up. I just had a guy tell me that's what their oncologist told them was you're going to die if you do high dose vitamin C. I just had somebody last week tell me that's what their oncologist said. So this is very, very common. So could you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah. So the notion is that if they're not taught it in their system of medical training to become an oncologist, which is a long time, 12, 13, 14 years, and they're taught nothing about it here in North America. In Germany, they're taught a lot about natural medicines, including hyperthermia. That's why they have so many machines, and also including mistletoe therapy. So these are all, we consider them alternative, but in Germany, they're just part of the integrated system. They work along with all of the surgeries and that kind of thing. And they're validated. So when you study it as a doctor in Germany, you come out, you have the confidence, okay, we've got all the science behind it. We know that these natural medicines work. Let's use it all together to get the best benefits for our patients. However, here, there's no education. And so there's that block of if you challenge and say, okay, if you say that this is so threatening to me, show me the studies. They can't pull them out because we have at least 30, 40 studies on, let's just take vitamin C on its own. High dose vitamin C at doses above 10 grams have an anti-cancer action, and it acts as a pro-oxidant. Every oncologist will say it's an antioxidant, interferes with chemotherapy, because that's what happens. However, the reverse is true. When you do it IV, you get pro-oxidation, and it enhances the action of the chemo agents, including 5-fluorouracil, irinotecan, and also oxaliplatin, which is all the chemos.
I think this is super important. So I'm just going to stop there. If you don't mind, we're going to dig into this because I think a lot of people are misinformed. So I heard that when you take oral vitamin C, it is very different than high dose vitamin C. Is that what you're talking about from an antioxidant to a prooxidant? Is there a difference between the high dose through the IV and the interaction it has in your cells compared to just taking it orally?
Yeah, so take an IV vitamin C orally. You can up your dose 1,000 milligrams, 5,000 milligrams, 10,000 milligrams, but there's a plateau that the blood will carry, and it can only go so far through absorption. You can't take any more IV vitamin C. Now, to be anti-cancer level, you need to administer it through the blood, and that's through an IV
Right.
medicine. Whether it's 25 grams vitamin C, 50 grams vitamin C. There was just a very good study with pancreatic cancer, 75 grams of vitamin C given 3 times a week doubled pancreatic patients' lifetimes, and theirs is very short as per the treatment of pancreatic cancer. So even adding just vitamin C like that can double it. It doubled it from 8 months to 16 months just by using one of our therapies that we use, which is IV vitamin C. So it works as a pro-oxidant, which means that it damages cancer. When it's an antioxidant, it helps to protect cancer, is what it's thought. And they say no antioxidants with chemotherapy. Chemotherapy is a pro-oxidant that damages cancer, so it knocks it down. We want to knock down the tumors as much as possible. So the IV vitamin C gets it to a pro-oxidant level that it also hits the tumors like that, and works in conjunction like that with 5-fluorouracil, with all of the chemotherapy agents that the colorectal cancer patients are treated with.
I think it's important. I'm just going to say that because this is happening, Dr. Caesar, I think it's important that this is people's lives and it's their own body and they got to make decisions. So I'm going to encourage everyone out there that if your oncologist is saying that high dose vitamin C is wrong and don't listen to your naturopath, I'm going to encourage you guys to look at the studies. I know Dr. Caesar has no problem sending studies. Everything he prescribes is based on studies. I think it's important to start changing the narrative and correcting our oncologists that, hey, there are studies and it's not what you're saying. Because when you ask your oncologist, show me the studies of why high dose vitamin C is going to conflict with the chemo, it doesn't seem like they send studies. It's just this myth that they're passing along to everyone.
Mm-hmm. That's very much the truth. I just did a conversation like this with 180 other oncologists. These are others who are just, use the chemotherapy, the radiation. It was for cholangiocarcinoma, a gallbladder cancer patient who did extremely well. And they said, hey, we want to learn about this a little bit, which was very encouraging to me. So I was able to explain to all of these oncologists about the benefits and the misnomers, the misunderstanding. It's not necessarily their fault. It's just that that's what they're taught and that's what everybody assumes.
Okay. So Derek and Dr. Caesar, let's jump. We don't have a lot of time left. So this is going to be the meat of the whole podcast because I think people want to see Derek's results. So let's just recap. Dr. Caesar, you review on an intake. You review people's medical records, which you did with Derek. You had about an hour and a half meeting with him. I'm guessing his wife might have been there as well. You went through his pathology report, his CT scans. You talked through it with them, and you set up a protocol that was tailored specifically to Derek for the 3 weeks that he was here at the Healing Oasis. And so while Derek was here, he was eating from a private chef. He was in a cabin right in nature, eating from a private chef, walking up the hill, doing all of these things. Plus, a registered nurse was here following your orders for the protocol for Derek. And so 5 days a week, Monday to Friday, he was either getting IVs, hyperthermia, PMF, depending on what your protocol was for Derek. So he did this for 3 weeks. We also, did some workshops. So now this is where we're going to dive into this. Derek got a report back. I don't know, Derek, was it about a month ago? I'm going to pull it up
Yeah,
here.
about a month ago, November 6th. About November 6th was my last CT scan.
Okay, so so Dr. Caesar, do we want to pull this up and you can talk through this then? Derek gave us permission beforehand. Obviously we're doing this because Derek's live, and Derek has said, yes, it's okay to share with people sort of the report and what was. So I'll pull that up, Dr. Caesar, and then hopefully you guys can verify. You can see it on my screen, and then maybe you can talk through it.
Sure. Okay, that sounds good.
Okay,
Yeah. So the CT is kind of considered the gold standard for figuring out is cancer getting better or not from treatment. However, it does have its toxicity to it. There is some radiation that's involved in there. And I talk to patients about the benefits and the drawbacks of CT scans. However, the CT scan report can be very, very helpful. And we do use this quite often. So
it's up now, Dave.
Yeah. And so a contrast is used, and it basically goes to tumor sites. And what we see is in this report, Derek's report, says that the lymph nodes are what carry the cancer and move it most of the time. So if you have a colorectal cancer, it can move through the lymph nodes and travel. It's like a network of highways is what it is. And the cancer finds a way. It loves to get out, and it loves to roam around, and it loves to create havoc all over the places. And this one has moved to the liver as well. It's moved to some nodes here, which are called mammary lymph nodes. These ones are just right in the chest. So as it turns out, you can see down at the bottom there that the previous...
Actually, this is August, Dave.
Oh, is this August?
This is August.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Hold on. Sorry, guys.
There's another one there that's November.
Yeah. Hold on. I gotta try to find the right one. Just give me a sec, guys. Hold on.
Sure.
I'm just gonna.
Yeah, I looked at it earlier today. That's what I just thought.
So there's one from
November 6th.
Oh, I think I have the November 6th one up now. So let me. Thanks, Derek, for catching that. So just give me a sec here. Tell me if you see this one now. Is this the one?
It should say findings. Yes. So right at the very bottom, it says findings chest. Yeah, there you go. So that's where the real results come up first. And it says that the stuff that's in the chest, the lymph nodes that are in the chest in the CT scan, has shown that there's everything's stable. Now, is this very good? Yes, it's absolutely very good, because the chances are that these things progress. That's what the cancer wants. That's what the cancer does habitually. With active treatment that's effective, we've got it stable or reduced in size. And that's what we've achieved here. So if you look on the next page is page 3 or 4. It has this summary of it as well. And it says that there's no new lung lymph nodes that are found, which is very common for colorectal cancers. It can move into the lung as well. So the CT also says where it doesn't go, and we don't want anything anywhere else. So there's no new metastasis, which is pretty typical of things. And there's also the liver. That's our focus. Our focus is, if we don't get the liver better, we're not doing our job. And in this one, in Derek's, we see that in the liver, everything has either stayed stable, there's multiple nodes, or it has reduced in size, which is a fantastic result. It's a very, very successful as far as treatment goes, and we're happy to see this. But the biggest thing is that Derek's doing well. That's how he's feeling, and the results are part of that for sure. You want to have improvement there, but the most important thing for me as his doc is to see him thriving, doing better than before, and really, really, really enjoying every step along the way. That hill that I'm talking about is a grind for everybody. And I'm thrilled to learn that he was able to do that on his own after time.
Well, and also, Dr. Caesar, what my oncologist told me is that I've had no chemo and I've had no radiation or anything like that for these 2 checkups. This, after, post my surgery, right? I've had no chemo. It's just strictly just change of life.
Yeah.
It's the whole body thing that we've kind of already talked about.
and the nice difference between the natural route is that you get mostly side benefits from it. For instance, even the vitamin C can help to give you more energy and can help to boost things and then boost your immune system rather than reduces it. So there's lots of people ask, well, what's the side effects of these treatments? And I say, well, its side benefits are testinate, has an anti-malarial action. It has these abilities to get rid of bacteria and viruses and these kinds of things. The vitamin C enhances the immune system, repairs wounds. So it's very different from the opposite, which is chemo, which tends to give you lots of poor side effects.
I think that I think this was important, Derek, that you said that, because a lot of people looking at that, they might say, "Oh, okay, your report looks awesome. That it's showing that your cancer is not growing anymore. A lot of it is resolving." And I think that's important for people to realize that it's not like you were doing chemo during this time. That just shows that your lifestyle, the change in diet, the treatments that Dr. Caesar talked about, all these things have played a role. And that should give people a lot of hope that this does work, even if their oncologist is saying it doesn't. I want to be careful and say that I don't think that anyone here is suggesting that we found a magic bullet that's some kind of cure. Of course not. That's not the point. It's that, look at Derek. Look at how well he's doing. He's back to work. Look at the report that we went through. Obviously, doing these things does help. I think and Derek, maybe you can speak to that.
Yeah, the other thing is, besides, I walk 3 to 5 kilometers a day, every day, like 7 days a week. I walk 3 to 5 kilometers every day because I couldn't even walk up there. It took me a long time to walk when I was there at the Healing Oasis, but I do. I get out and exercise. And the other thing is that, you know what? I still come to you, Dave and Dr. Caesar, for all the supplements.
Right.
After all this time, what's it been, 7 months now or whatever since I've left, I'm still ordering all the supplements that you, Dr. Caesar, have prescribed. For me, this is the CRC formula that you have, that's yours. And I still take that. I take 55 to 60 pills a day. And Dave got me on the whole enzyme thing, right? So I take, I'm up to like 15 pills a day, Dave. I know you take a lot more of the enzymes, but I do. I take all of Dr. Caesar's formulas, for the enzymes and the supplements.
Well, I think
to this day.
I think that's important to also say, because Dr. Caesar has these formulas for different types of cancer, like the colorectal cancer formula that you're taking. And it makes it easy for people, because instead of them trying to figure out, oh, I got this type of cancer, what am I supposed to take? And I also think it's important that you are sharing that, because the supplements that they take at home, when you go home and you keep the diet good, but those supplements, I think they're incredibly important, like incredibly important. Because to keep healing from cancer, you have to give your body what it needs. And maybe, Dr. Caesar, you can talk to that, since obviously you're the one prescribing these supplements that they're getting when they get home.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I have lots of patients who tell me, "Oh, I've been taking this and I've been taking that," and self-treating. And I always encourage them, you need to get some expert help to figure out what you're going to do. They might go on Facebook and get involved in a group, and someone says, "Oh, this tea is fantastic, and I'm using it," and these kinds of things. So half the time I take patients off of a bunch of things, because you don't want to just be taking a whole bunch of things. And you do need specific expert guidance to stay on course for getting better. Not everybody does get better. Not everybody has successes, and that's very true, Dave. What you say, this is not a magic bullet, that's for sure. However, everything is designed with science in mind, and also with an individual approach to each of the cancers. So the colorectal cancer formula is very different from our breast cancer formula. Which is different from our lung cancer, because
hey, Derek, why don't you talk there, because you're showing it and I want everybody to see that.
Oh, I didn't. Yeah, no, that's why I thought because you're talking about your formula there, Dr. Caesar. That's what I have. This one here, I keep ordering it from you,
Right.
right? Your colorectal CA formula or whatever, right? And I take a lot of these in a day. I don't know the exact milligrams or whatever.
That's awesome. Okay, well, we did about we've done about an hour. Derek and Dr. Caesar, I really appreciate this. I think we're gonna do this more often because it's a pretty cool. I'm gonna see obviously when people watch this if they like this format. I don't know how many people have ever done podcasts where the doctor is on with the guest as well that's sharing their story. So I think this was a really cool way of doing it. And I hope we can do others as well. Derek, you're the first one we did this with. And thank you for allowing us to share your report. I think that just makes people realize that this is all legitimate, that Dr. Caesar is actually viewing
Not a
medical.
scam.
Yeah, it's not a scam. Dr. Caesar's actually reviewing medical reports. He's aware of it. That's what he does in the intake call. We're excited when guests get back to us with reports after. So it's just really good that we can do this. And so thank you guys for your time. Really appreciate it.
I'm very honored. Thank you very much for inviting me, Dave. I very much appreciate it. Thank you. And Dr.
Yeah,
Caesar.
I agree, Derek, and thank you so much. And so nice to see you and to see your beautiful self again, and how well you're doing. It really drives me every day to help you to get better and better as we go along. And Dave, thank you for setting this up. And I think this is a fantastic format, so you can get the perspective from the patient side of you, like Derek put in so many beautiful details, and then from the physician side of things to the naturopathic doctor side of things too.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, well,
I think
thanks,
that
guys.
maybe if I get my pickup truck this spring, right after I'll come up there again and drive up myself and do some sessions.
Yeah, you know what, Derek, we'd love to have you. We have a bunch of guests that say they're going to come back. So that, I mean, you know what, even if the cancer's gone and they want to come back, I tell people, listen, you're always welcome to come back. I mean, it's always good to take time in nature, and I think that's important every year, really, to do that. So, you're more than welcome to come back. So again, thanks, Derek. I know you have family coming, and I just think I want to reiterate what Dr. Caesar just said, that just to see you, regardless of the reports, regardless of what they're saying, it's just amazing looking at you and just you're back to work full time. I remember seeing you when you first came to the Healing Oasis and you couldn't walk up that hill, and now you're saying 5 kilometers a day. I mean, it almost makes me want to cry. It just
Yeah.
motivates my wife and I so much. You have no idea how much this motivates us to say, okay, we got to keep doing this, because this is what can happen when people just get a chance to reset their health. So again, thank you for sharing.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I really appreciate everything that both of you do. It's a miracle.
Awesome. And just so we are clear at the end here, everybody that's watching, the Healing Oasis is only open in the summer. So again, thank you guys, and I know that everybody's going to some dinners tonight. Christmas, it's the Christmas time part of the year, so everybody enjoy their evening.
Yeah. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right, Merry
Take
Christmas, everybody.
take
Merry
care.